Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and welcome back. This is a different video than I normally do. And today I'm doing a test on a new recording device and new lighting, distancing, microphone, all of that good stuff. So, if you're not happy with the quality, just leave me a comment. Let me know what you feel is wrong, and I will try to get it right. So, I have adjusted my lighting so that I get the maximum lighting that I can. So today we're going to be going through this beautiful book that I have here. And I'm getting my scraps tucked in. This book is one of the newest ones from Maremi's Small Art, Marta Lakowska. So right here you can see her name. This one is called Moss Stories. So I've already done a flip through of this beautiful book, and I've actually done a page, and I'll show you 2 pages that I've done. One that I filmed and one that I did on my own, because I was playing with technique and playing with different elements, that kind of thing. So I had a special request that I should go through the book and give ideas of how to use it, so that people that are struggling to know where to start can have a safe place to play. So we are going to go through this book as I would do it and as I would choose the materials. So before I do that, let me show you the pages. And this is my journal. It is a leather journal, and the style is called Tree of Life. And it is sold on Amazon by a company called Leather Village. Now this is the page that I did film, and it was called Where the Moss Grows. So this was the page where we put a sleeping fairy, we hung a crystal pendant and added the string. We added a lantern that we put a fairy inside, and she's drinking from a river, and we added a waterfall, and then a fairy who's looking at her with all the beautiful scenery. We even have a baby fox who's getting ready to go down to the water to get a drink. So I showed you how I did all of these elements. This is one that I did on my own very quickly, so it did not have a whole lot of execution. But I used a fairy that was by herself. I added angel wings, clouds around her. This one I would call Guardian Angel, and she's guarding the little fairy that's asleep. I added a rock feature. I added 2 side pieces to add depth so that we could embed our little fairy into the ground around her. Then I hung one of the floral hangings that Marta's got in her book, and I'll show you that when we do the flip through. So those are 2 that I've done. And what I want to do is go through, these are my scraps. These are some hanging elements that you can use to add to trees, to walls. You can even add them to the clouds if you want. So this is just something that you can do. And I'm going to close my door real quick to avoid excess sound. So I thank you for your patience. Okay. So these are some scraps. These are a few of the clouds, the smaller ones. I've got some torn bits that I'll use in another journal. But let's start looking through the book. Now, Marta tells you that you can choose your main feature, your main character. And sometimes I do that first. And then you can place them on the background and see how they're going to look, whether it be a creature or whether it be a beautiful fairy. So you can fussy cut out the one you want to use and then move them around on different scenes. But you don't have to use these scenes as is. Marta encourages us to play. So you could use this half of it. You could use just the house and these flowers. You could cut this out or tear this out and use it on another background to add depth. So you could use a background and then add this as the foreground. You don't have to use the pages as is, nor do you have to use these as is. I've added butterfly wings to a fairy. So you can actually do that too. You can use this just as is, just as a strip on the side. You can cut off a little bit of the white here, a little bit of the white here. You can fussy cut in half of it, fussy cut in the other half, and use this as a whole side strip or a strip up at the top of your page. So you don't have to separate these out. You can cut them in squares and you can tile them in different areas of your page. You can cut the birds out separately. You can leave them whole. You can use this page as a background in which you want to add layers. So you don't have to cut along the guidelines. You can add flowers to clouds. You can put them on the ground. You can put them in a tree. You can put them on the roof of a house. So your characters here are in many different positions. So you've got some walking, 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 and looking up. Those are looking up. And they could be looking up at something. This is a page of clouds. I already used part of it. So you could put a character here looking up at a dangling lantern. You could have one of the little guys that are walking. He's walking along the top of this. He could be walking along this. You could fussy cut this out and take this page with this gone and put it on another background, one that you like better. Or you can put it on another background, or you can cut here and slip in one of your characters as if they're peeking out. So you could have one of them peeking out from behind this wall. You could have them, if you had one sitting. I don't know that we have any sitting in this book, but there are other fairy books where they are sitting. So you could do that. You could use multiple images of girls and stack them together. This one could go here and cover only this part. This one could go here and cover only this part. You could have this one here and this one diagonal, and then this one here at the bottom. So you can use multiple characters at one time. And I'm going to let Mr. Kitty Cat in because he's crying at my door. So you can add these to a background. You can add these to the back part of a window. You can cut this out, put the flower coming out from behind the wall. That would be beautiful. And let me show you what I mean. This one here, you could have it peeking out from behind this wall. Leave the background, leave all of this, but make your cut right here and slide that flower in. And then it looks like it's peeking out from behind this wall. That adds interest and intrigue to your pages. I appreciate your patience with my voice. I just got over being sick 3 weeks, about 2 weeks ago, and I got it again for the 3rd time. So my immune system is a bit wrecked right now, but I am trying to rectify that. So thank you for your patience with my voice cutting in and out. These are beautiful. You could put a window within a window, like this window here. You could put it back here. You could cut this out. You could use a knife and cut between the squares. So you leave these rods for the window and then place that other window right back here. And then it adds some interest to its going back to another land within a land. So use your fantasy imagination. Go through these books and really take your time to look at the detail. What I normally do is when I see something I like, I cut it out and lay it aside. Then when I'm done picking images, I start moving them around together and seeing what works, what doesn't. You could add this little fairy critter house to this window area here. You can add it right here on the side by removing this window or by removing this side of it. You can slip in, you can cut here and slip that in, and it becomes part of this background. So anytime you cut, it allows you to slide something in behind where you cut. So if you cut up here, you can slide something up. If you cut down here, you can slide something down, such as a fairy or a rabbit. You can use this as is, just like it is on the bottom, or I'm going to challenge you to flip it upside down and use it. And let me show you what I did with this one. This one here, this was a side window, and this was the other side of that same window. So these were originally not like this, and I just turned this upside down. And you're allowed to do that. That's what makes this artwork, this type of art, so much fun. So don't necessarily use it as is. Marta's not going to be insulted by you changing the trajectory of something. These birds, you can tile them up as they're created. You know, one on top of another, adding a lantern, adding some scenery or flowers, or you can cut them out and put them on a critter's hand, shoulder, head, on the top of a building or stone wall. You could put them on the bench. You could put them in the tree. You could put a critter here. You could put a fairy here. You could cut this off and you can cut this area right here and put it on top of a fairy's head. That's her hat. So get creative with these things. You could cut this mushroom off and use it as a hat. In fact, I may actually do that. You may actually see me do that. If there's one that is small enough like this, I may put it in a fairy's arms and like they're using it like an umbrella. Or even this one can be used like an umbrella. So get creative with your images. Don't necessarily use them as is. You could layer these windows, these squares. You could put a terrarium on top of it, a window on top of it. These could go in your corners. These could go in your opposite corners. These can go upside down. I've done that before. These can be growing out of the side of a page. Butterflies are fun. I actually put a butterfly behind a windowed wall right here. And all I did was I cut this and I cut this and slid it in on both sides. And that's how I got the butterfly in there. So it looks like it's inside the window in the trees. So if you want to see how I did everything, you can look at that video that I did. It's called Where the Moss Grows. Butterflies can go on a dress, on someone's back. They could go on a mushroom, in a tree, inside of a window, or a portal, as I sometimes refer to them as. This leaves wonderful possibilities right here. This has almost a reflective quality. So you could take a brown pen and you could add a bank, and then these dripping down shades can become reflections in the water. So you can create water just by adding a bank of brown line all the way around here. And maybe some white, making it look like the water's coming up to the edge. If you'd like to see me do that, just leave me a comment and I can work that into my next project. These guys are fun. When you're looking at one that's got their head tilted up, they could be looking off into the distance at something that you cannot see. Or they could be looking at something that you've created as a focal point. Whether it be a fairy on a cloud, a bird on a cloud or a fairy's house. You can hang these in midair, or you can put them on the ground. You could use this page as is for a background. And I'm having to keep my throat moist so I don't cough. So I appreciate your patience in that. So you can use this as a background. You can use that as a background. Put some other scenery going across down here. Some other scenery. Or you could tear this and use this in a corner. You can tear this and use this in the opposite corner. And then put it around a background scene that has some trees. You could do the same thing with this. You could fussy cut these and put them in the corners. You could put them all the way down the side of a page, almost like a border. You could space them out, or you can really put them close together and almost overlapping. You can make a bunch of them. Now here's some hanging things. You can hang it from a tree. And I hung mine from a tree. This particular one right here. This has the clothespins. And I fussy cut it and then hung it on the tree. So you can hang it on a wall. You could hang it just straight across the page. You could use this as a background, so that way you get all the beautiful detail. You could add a character, some more mushrooms. You could add this as a top border. You could cut it right here and use all that as a border. These wings you can put on anything. You could put these wings on a cloud. I put them on a fairy. You could put them on a rabbit, on a mouse. You could put them on a mushroom. These little girls are beautiful. You can use more than one of these little images and put them all throughout. You can cut them in a square, or you can fussy cut them out. I already used this wing for that particular angel. Here's some more flowers. You could have this coming out from a page, from the edge of it, so it's coming out where you can't see. Let me show you. You see? If you put that out on the edge of a page, what that looks like, it's beautiful. So don't just be stuck with the way the images are created. Turn them around. Turn them upside down. Put them in and amongst things. Sit a rabbit in the middle of a flower. Put a mouse on a mushroom. Put one of these windows on a mushroom. You guys have seen me, those of you who have seen my older videos, have seen me stuff a house into a mushroom. And that one was called Mushroom Village. I stuffed all the houses into mushrooms. So you can do so many different things. You can take parts of this image. You can take this part right here, this part right here. You don't have to use it as is. You can cut it straight across here. You can separate it. Put a window in the middle. Add some interest. You can stack these windows diagonally. You can use one. You can stack them on top of each other, making it look like a real high wall of windows. These rocks, you can put them on the ground. You can put them coming out of a wall, out of a structure. And here's those little hanging elements. I've already used one of them. So you've got this little line. You can use it as is, or you can cut these individual pieces out. They're very tiny, so it does take some work. You can group these mushrooms together. You can cut this and cut this mushroom here and put that behind. And then this mushroom is growing with this mushroom. You can put mushrooms on top of each other. I did that and created a bird's house. And that's in the video titled The Featherton's New Home, I believe is what it's called. These words here are fun. You can take them individually or you can take them in groups. You can go diagonal. Twilight roots, whispered myths, hushed. And you could do the diagonal down on your page. Soft echoes, ancient embrace, secretive. You can do it just as it is, or you can stack them up in groups. You can stair step them and put them behind a tree. You can put them behind a window, like they're inside the other world. You can use this as a background page, or you can separate it. One thing you can do, and you have to be careful if you're very adventurous, is you cut this out. If you take this bottom part and wrinkle it up about 10 times, it becomes wrinkled and faded. You add a bank of land right here, turn this upside down, and it becomes the reflection of that. So these are things where you can get creative. If you crumple this enough times, it becomes faded, wrinkled, and you can't quite see the detail. So you could get away with flipping this upside down, making a bank, and creating a reflection of this. And I did that technique with the video I called The Otters, where I put a little boy in the water and I wanted to make it look like his pants and boots were in water. So I crumpled his bottom section up and it became faint and wavy like he was in water. So that's a water technique. If you want to do a water technique, just crumple it and be very careful unraveling it because it becomes very delicate and soft. But that's a water technique you can use for any feature. If you want to take a mushroom and one that's just like it, crumple it up, turn it upside down, and it becomes the reflection of this one in a pool of water. You can do that with a critter as well, especially if you've got a critter. Let's see if we can find multiples. Let's see. See, you could put a bank around here and this becomes water. You can make this anything you want. But give yourself a chance to go through the book and really, here's a perfect example. This one flipped would be a reflection of this one. You crumple this one about 10 times, flip it, and it becomes the direct reflection of this guy here in water. So try that technique. Having something face the opposite, when you flip it, it then faces the same direction, and you can get away with it. The mice you can do that with as well. But you almost have to have one that's in the same position. You could do it with these two. You could crumple this one, unravel it, and flip it upside down and make it look like a smaller version in the water. So these are techniques that you can do to really make your worlds and your pages come alive. Here's a technique that I did on a video called Spider Princess. Now what I did was during Halloween, I got some spider webs from the Dollar Tree. And I did spider webs. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see where I put it. And I glued as strategic points and strung the spider webs over the page. So let's see if I can find it. I'm going to be looking in this older, I think it's in here. And these pages are all, it's my Curse of the Wolf, Snow Queen, let's see where I did it. And I did it on October 31st. Here's another one of Maremi's where I stuffed a rabbit into the hoodie. Some of you have probably already seen that. Here's where I put a boy in a tree with the bats. Okay, I've got to figure out where I put her. But anyhow, I strung spider webs all over the page. And I may have done it in this one, this bigger one. Let's see. Let's see. You guys are going to get to see some old journal pages that I've done where I had to take some pages out of a book. It got too thick. And I've done a flip through of all of these, but those of you that are new may not have ever seen it. There's another where I did some butterflies from Maremi's books. This is a scrap page I did from Maremi's Scraps. Another one, Crashing the Moon, where a boy's rocket goes and crashes the moon. There's Mushroom Village, where I stuffed the houses up into, there it is. And this was hooked up here. So you can see the spider webs that I did, and I'll have to re-glue that. But they do stretch if you glue and let it tack it down with some good liquid glue. It will stretch across a page for you. So the reason why I wanted to show you that is because if you have old spider webs from Halloween, you can add to a page by putting one in the corner, stretching it across the page, and add some interest to your pages. So that's something you can do with an outside substance, an organic substance. So there's some good ideas for how you can use the book. I normally will go through these books between 4 and 5 times, looking, studying, thinking. Give yourself that time. If you're in a hurry and you want to just do one element with a really neat background that you create yourself, then do it. But if you want to take your time and build a scene, give yourself the time to play, move things around, think it through. Sometimes I'll gather elements and I use absolutely none of them. I start over. I go to sleep, I wake up, and I get a whole nother idea that's much better than the first. So give yourself that playtime. And I hope you have enjoyed your time here today. Again, it's a new video setup, new lighting, and microphone. So leave a comment if you're not quite happy with it. I do have a camera holder that's on its way that may make my life easier. But if you enjoyed your time here, come back and see me again. And I will see you on the next one.